All right, so we're gonna go over this live mix interstation. So the purpose of this is to be able to select each individual channel that we have and be able to mix that to your personal taste. So the goal with this is to make sure that you can hear yourself really well, you feel like you can play well, but that you can also hear other people. And so click track is part of this, and that's a really important thing for us to be able to hear, as well as drums and other instruments for driving energy. And then if you're a vocalist, just making sure you're singing in tune, making sure you can hear yourself really well. And none of this affects what's happening in the room. So we've got lead vocal, which is always going to be whoever's main leading the service. That's going to be the green mic. Then red, yellow, and blue microphones. Acoustic guitar, electric guitar. Aux guitar is a secondary acoustic. We've got violin, keys, which is the keyboard, piano, which is the baby grand bass. Talkback is what you're going to be hearing from the audio person at the main soundboard. So they can actually talk into a microphone and you'll hear it in your ears. So you want to make sure that's up. You can select these from the touchscreen, or you can select these from these buttons down here. To go to the next page, you can hit button 13, or you can hit show 1 through 12 or show 13 through 24. So on the second page, starting 13 through 24, we've got drum mix, kick, snare, we've got cajon, left over, right over. There's a blank one. We've got vocal reverb, another blank, Mac audio. Announcement is the handheld microphone for announcements. And we've got the pastor mic. So drum mix is just going to be a mix of the entire drum kit. If you want kind of some of that mixed on top of just the kick drum or just the snare drum. And then L over and right over are the overhead microphones in the drum kit. So that's going to get a little bit more of the cymbals. So I always encourage people to have a lot of the kick and a lot of the snare, because those are going to give you the main build markings in a song. And then the L over and right over are going to give some of those fills. So in a quiet part of a song, there might be some cymbal taps and different things. You're going to get a lot more of that from that left over and right over. Vocal reverb, what reverb is it's just kind of some room ambiance. This is going to control vocal reverb for all the vocals that are in your mix. I like to have that on in mine a little bit, just to make it sound a little bit more natural, a little bit less flat in my ears, but some people can be a little bit distracted by that. So you're able to turn that off. So how do we turn things off? We've got these three knobs on the side here. We've got master volume, me, and then adjust volume and pan. So master volume is going to turn up and down the entire mix. So each of these individual channels is going to be part of the mix. And then if you need more volume across the entire mix, you're going to use the master volume. So right now, this is set to about 2/3 maybe, I would say. It's not maxed out, it's not all the way down, but that gives you a lot of room to play and bring some of these down quite a bit in your ears or bring them up. So that's the overall volume. Me, I don't use this very often, but this me one controls everything that you've selected that you want to be grouped under you. So if you had a vocal mic and an instrument, then you could group those two together. I don't think that's necessarily super helpful for anybody, but maybe the drummer to be able to group those, because it's just as easy to go in and select different ones individually, especially week to week. Then the one that we use the most often is this adjust volume and pan. So that's going to adjust whatever you currently have selected. So if we select the yellow mic, we can go in and we can turn that all the way up, or we can turn that all the way down. Okay, so that says adjust volume and pan. Pan is my favorite feature on this, and it's something that a lot of people don't use, and I would like us to, because it makes things sound a lot more natural in our ears. All of these signals are being sent to the left side and to the right side. And when you're not using pan, it's all equal in both ears. But what we can do is we can select this button, we can tap. So you just tap down. So if you tap once, it goes to pan. Tap again, it goes back to volume. So this is a dual use knob. But what this is doing is it's allowing us to see, do I want yellow straight down the middle? do I want yellow mic a little bit in my left ear or a little bit in my right ear? So what I would recommend, as you can see kind of from my mix here, is that none of these are actually straight center, except for my vocal, lead vocal, is in the middle, but everything else is panned either to the left or to the right. That is super, super helpful because it makes it sound a little bit more natural. So I have the drums a little bit in my left ear. I've got the keys a little bit in my right ear. So this is extremely helpful to use. The last two things I want to show you are accessory channels. This is the only place we need to go to find a channel that's not one of these 24. And that channel is going to be our click channel. This is really important for all of us to have in our ears. It's an aux input. Metronome is not it. Metronome is built into this station, and that's not what we're using. So aux input is what you're going to select, and then you can adjust that using this adjust volume, same as any of these other ones. But the reason that's so important is that all of us are dependent on hearing each other, but also keeping time with each other. And so if you're taking off going a lot faster than everybody else, then I'm going to say, hey, you might need to turn the click up in your ears. Some people are uncomfortable with having this really high. I would just have it high enough that you can hear it even when things are kind of pushing a little bit volume wise in your ears. And then the last thing is that if you go to mix tools, so that's let's get back out of that. That's going to be this touchscreen button right here, mix tools. You can see there's a couple different things, but at the very bottom, this bottom bar says load save personal mix. So you can select one of these squares here, and as long as it says empty, you can save whatever you've set as your mix in this station. You can save it to that. And so you'd click like 12, and then you'd say save selected. You'd be able to change what's written there, so you can make it your name. And then next time you come in, you can go in here, click on it, and then say load selected, and it's going to load whatever preset you like. So this means that people won't be messing with your stuff unless they save over you, which they shouldn't, as long as you put your name in there. So anybody who comes in after you, if you're a bass player and the bass player the week before likes to hear different things, then you can just load back up your personal mix without having to edit every single thing again every week that you come in. Last thing that I forgot to mention is this is two-sided. There's A side and there's B side. So B side over here has master, me, volume, and pan adjust, as well as being able to go to each of these. So each of these stations has two outputs, and it's mixing each of these differently. So whichever one you are when you come up. So for example, the backup vocalist, one of them is usually B side, the red, while the piano player or the keys player is blue. Usually that's how we kind of have it set up on their station. And so just making sure you're not going in and adjusting somebody else's in ears while they're singing or playing during a service, but that you select your own. There's a couple other things in here that kind of get a little bit deeper, but that's the basics of how to use this. It's a really useful tool. I encourage everybody to make sure to use these as effectively as you can and make sure that you can hear whatever you need to hear. If you have any questions at all, you can always ask me or somebody who's been doing it for a long time, and they can help you out with that.